Yo, what's up? We took off the fancy shirt. Okay, this is going to be Series 3 at the TA. Okay. Let's look at the... So we're excited about living in the end times on Team Jesus. You know, history, the banner for that, the epic of Yahweh, kingdom and kinfolk. So he created the earth and everything in it. Now he's building out the church, his bride and everything. And we're on that team. This is where we're at in his story. And it's freaking epic. You know what I'm saying? So to be on the team at this time, you know, put me in coach. I'm ready to play. Thank you, Lord. Amen. Okay, body the temple concept. I should have put a banner around that. Put YHWH on the throne, the forefront of the mind, will, and emotions. Most high in all nouns. You know, people, places, things. Directly, self, through free will. Okay. So, we get to choose. Look at that ribeye right there. I ate the other one. That sucker was good too. So, you know, you got your head and then the rest of your body, you know, and all your limbs and stuff like that. And then we see that the Most High, like Mount Everest is the tallest mountain or whatever, or K2 or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Let's look at the trucks. Bam! You see that truck right there? That's a Columbia. If you bought one of them trucks brand new and you intended to drive it for 30 years, yeah, that's a aerodynamic, kinda. But those things had the 13 speed and the Detroit, and you know, and he's got that reefer trailer on it, so you know the loads pay a little better. That's near perfection. Finding one of them trucks nowadays that's not beat to death is difficult. But yeah, that's a $12,000 to $25,000 truck these days, and it's about $30,000 to replace everything rubber, new wiring harness, and then you know go out driving. So you got to change your rear gears or something like that. You know, Detroit 13 speed, you know, 273 rear gears, just run forever. Okay, so thinking about making some rice. So the head, you know what I mean? Is where you think about your thinking. Then you got your heart. That's what your, you know, your feelings and all that kind of stuff. And then you got like your gut. You know what I mean? So you got like these gut feelings and everything, and you know, it's kind of your core, your center and stuff like that. And then, you know, I'd like to think my fingers, I can always count on them. I'd like to think my legs, without them I wouldn't have had a leg to stand on. I forget what the other one was. Anyway, when we're standing on the word, you know, and we're reading the Bible, all this kind of stuff like that, and it talks about the Most High. Okay, so our Most High is what we have lifted up. You know, did we put business first, miss a few birthdays, this and that, trying to build out a situation to where we could, you know, have generational wealth? A lot of things are a trade-off. You know, did I, you know, miss a few tutoring sessions with the math tutor, but excelled in sports? You know, we're all made different. You know what I mean? And if you'll go with your natural attributes and the way that you're built, that's a good thing and everything. But then, like, we have an enemy that's trying to sabotage stuff. So, you know, the most high in our life gets derailed, and we know that's a fact because of evidence. How many people do you know pray without ceasing? Are we supposed to pray without ceasing? I believe we are. I believe we are. Are we supposed to check our thoughts? As we get a thought in our head, is that coming from God? Is that coming from some kind of evil? Is that just me thinking? How do I vet that? You know? And when I give a solid help me Lord on that deal, you know, that's, I have thoughts all day long. So if I'm vetting it via, is this you, God? You know, and I compare back to the Torah, you know, if I look back at God's law, the commandments, you know, and then I keep it real, which is walking in love and practicality, you know what I mean? I'm not living in delusional state of, oh, well, God don't mind if I just kill these 5 people. You know, here's 5 people, I'll just go ahead and kill them because, you know, insert justification, blah, 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 whatever. And, you know, God's cool with that. The only time, you know, like if it's your duty, like if you work in a slaughterhouse and you kill cows for a living, that's your job, man. Like you're you know, making sure everybody's got something to eat. There's nothing wrong with that. You know what I mean? It's no big deal. If you're a soldier and you went yonder and you, in course of duty, took another human being's life, the commander that sent you to do that, the blood is on their hands. Okay, so you got King David and Uriah the Hittite comes back from the war, and David been sleeping with his wife, Uriah's wife, and then sends Uriah back to the battlefield, and then tells everybody else, pull back and leave Uriah out there hanging in the wind. And of course, when they pull back, Uriah got killed. So David murdered Uriah based upon instructions as a commander. So Uriah's life and death was not his own. He was a soldier, and he was righteous because he followed orders. Okay, so if you're ordered to go yonder, do this, that, and the other, and you complete your orders per instruction, the results of that is firmly laid at the feet of the commander. So whatever you do, it's kind of like a bypass type of deal. You know what I mean? Like if the clerk at 7-Eleven, you know what I mean? I go up there, I try to buy a, you know, sandwich. And he's like, get out of here, honky, and all kind of blah, blah. And I videotape this dude just browbeating me and being a racist or whatever and kicking me out of the store. There might be grounds for a lawsuit. Probably not against the individual, but against the company. You know what I mean? Because the individual at the counter of 7-Eleven is representing 7-Eleven. Now, I like 7-Eleven, don't get me wrong. That was just an example. 7-Eleven's a great company, actually. Anyway, with that being said, if you study, if you were a soldier and you struggle, study King David, because he's been there, done that. You'll be able to identify with it, and then you'll see where he got right with God. When I was examining Jesus to try to live a righteous life, I found it to be nearly impossible because, well, I found it to be literally impossible. Not nearly, it's literally impossible because he was God. So I'm like praying, and I said, come on, man, give me some baby steps here. So I was like, okay, God, David was a man after God's own heart, right? So David made tremendous mistakes and then got right. That's something Jesus never did. Jesus was righteous the entire time. Okay, so we could get a whole lot from King David and what he did right, what he did wrong, and the dude was flawed, and his family was flawed, and everybody I know is flawed, and their family is flawed. So I highly recommend studying on David to get over any type of nonsensicals that might be holding you down and getting you to the point of considering taking your own life. Don't do that. Do not do that, because that's a permanent solution to a temporary problem. You know what I found out? This ain't no bullshit right here. However I feel today, I will probably feel different tomorrow, because my entire life, my mood changes. So if I get so down and so beat up by the enemy to where my headspace is all cloudy and yuck, well, it ain't gonna get no worse. And then on the mere chance tomorrow I can help somebody else, well, that's enough for me. You know what I mean? That's enough for me. Even if the rest of my days on this planet are, torturous hell, if I can help somebody else get through the struggle, that gives me purpose. That's an honorable thing. I feel yuck and all this kind of stuff. I'm the guy that goes to work sick. Literally, my whole life, if I got sick, I would go to school or go to work or whatever, specifically because I'm like, I feel like crap either way. I might as well get a check. And that check might be, money. It might be learning because I showed up to school when I was supposed to. Whatever. Anyway, you know what I'm saying. Okay, let's get back to this deal. Body is the temple. Okay, who's on the throne? Where is the throne located? Okay, so it says that we are co-seated with Christ in the heavenly kingdom. So there is a throne room in heaven, and the Creator sits on the throne, and then we are co-seated with Christ through our agreement with what He says is right and our agreement with what He says is wrong. And then because our actions back up our agreement. You know what I mean? Like, if I thought the brakes was not going to work on this truck, I wouldn't drive it. Because I wouldn't be able to stop if I really believed that. You know what I mean? But if I thought, well, the brakes are a little sketchy, but maybe I can make it, and then once I get unloaded, that'll give the boss man the money he needs to fix it, and there's a shop across the street from the delivery, make it make sense, critical thinking, blah, blah. I might take a risk and, finish the load or whatever. I might take a risk of investing in the stock market. You know what I mean? Or whatever. But I'm going to do my due diligence. Can I fix the brakes myself before I move? Can I look at these companies and decide which one has a proper stock option, dividends, blah, blah, growth rate, whatever, mutual funds, whatever. I don't know. I don't do stock market. I do real estate, because if you can't touch it, you don't own it. You know what I mean? I don't like the shell game. I've been lied to before. You know what I mean? So, if I want to invest in something, it's like, I have this thing I call the donut method for buying land, and then just wait 15 years and build the land out to match the neighborhood that came in, or the Walmart that came in, or the strip mall that came in, or, nothing came in, and I just, owner finance to somebody that likes to raise cows. whatever's appropriate. You know what I mean? So, boy, that shine. Cows are shiny, it says. That's how you read the signs right there. That's a Holy Ghost moment right there. Raise cows. Make cows, not Roth IRAs. Okay, put YHWH on the throne. Forefront of the mind, will, and emotions. That's your throne. Okay, so the throne, where's your mind, where's your will, and where's your emotion? Okay, so if my go-to is my mind, will, and emotions is all about God every day, all the time. And if I drive far enough that I'm still wearing the seatbelt after I take it off. So my mind, will, and emotions. Let's look back at the truck, Skip. Go my ugly face. Okay, so let me read this again. The body is the temple. Concepts. Put YHWH on the throne. The throne is the forefront of the mind, will, and emotions. Okay. So a thought hits. Corn dog. Okay, well, that might be a temptation because, like, you know, I'm trying to go low carb. I don't know if that hot dog's got pork in it. That would be unkosher. You know what I mean? So, you know, to err on the safe side, you know, would be a thing. But then, you know, like, I got freedom and grace. You know what I mean? And then it's like, am I going to sacrifice Jesus on the stake? You know what I mean? Am I gonna, you know, roll the dice on this deal? Is this waiter kosher or not? And then it's like, is there a different option? You know, am I just bored or am I actually hungry? You know what I mean? God, what would you have me do in this moment? You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't even have to ask all them questions. See, that was me thinking and rationalizing as an example. Scenario number 2. Pray without ceasing. I'm sitting here. Thought hits my mind. Corn dog. Is this righteous? No. Immediately, no. I'm at a truck stop. They cooked it in seed oil, which makes any goodness of the cornbread bad. It's the cheapest corn dog they could get. That jalapeno corn dog with cheese in it has pork in it, more than likely. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm going to err on the side of caution to eat kosher, which kosher is no pig, and if I'm doing that, was all animals cleansed or not? That's debatable. Anything that's debatable, I want to err on the side of caution because make it make sense, right? So, should I eat kosher? A solid yes. Why? Because there was a point for sure before the New Testament that everybody was supposed to eat kosher. So if I do that, I'm definitely not breaking the law. Okay? But I like bacon. So when I don't eat the bacon, that's actually a form of worship. Because I'm putting the thoughts of, hey, I'm going to be kosher just to be on the safe side. You know, Jesus died for me. I could, you know, skip the BLT. You know what I'm saying? It's like, and because I do that, it sounds goofy when you actually say the words. But in the moment, how hard is it to turn down the bacon? In the moment, where you're just like, hey, it's a bacon biscuit. There's nothing else to choose from. I'm hungry. Well, when I choose to go hungry because I'm trying to be on the safe side, and I'm holding myself to a kosher diet, so I'm not eating the bacon biscuit. In that moment, I'm doing that specifically because God said. The Bible said, and I'm not sure, so I'm erring on the side of caution. which is wise. That's literally wise. Now, the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. So I should fear that God might throw me into a lake of fire. But I understand the law of atonement. I realize Jesus fulfilled that. I believe that. So my salvation is secure. I personally believe if I have the cheese dog, if I have the corn dog or the bacon or whatever else like that, I personally believe that God will make a way. I believe that on Judgment Day, that God will be like, you could have done better. I know He's going to say that because I can do better right now. Okay? One of the ways I can do better is err on the cautious side. Be a little more conservative and decide to like give up the bacon. Okay, now what happens is I gave up this bacon. That's all there was to eat, right? Now this hypothetical scenario that happens to me on a regular basis. So I'm at the truck stop. I am hungry. The coffee creamer has wild chemicals in it. So I don't put it in the coffee. I don't like the taste of coffee. So I need sugar and cream to not want to gag. Because the shit's gross. Okay, well, I have to drink it black. You know what I mean? And then I'm like, I don't like it black. Maybe I should just drink water. You know what I mean? So this is an ongoing battle with me daily, right now in the here and now. I don't have a problem giving up the bacon because it's not a thing. I fought that battle last year. And now, as a matter of fact, if I eat a ham sandwich or a piece of bacon or whatever else like that, I get the drizzling shits. Because there really is something wrong with pork. There really is something wrong with pork. There really is something wrong with GMO food. Now, I don't want to burst your bubble or anything, but when it comes to the kosher laws and all that kind of stuff like that, you know, you got pesticide, herbicide, homicide, and suicide. Hold the sides. Hold the sides. I don't want to ingest. I don't want to eat death. I want to ingest and eat the Bible. I want to consume the Bible, fill myself with that, and vet all my actions. I want to be in a constant state of checking. Is this good? Is this bad? Is this coming from me? Is this coming from the devil? Is this coming from God? What does the Bible say about drinking beer? Well, obviously, it says, do not get drunk. Obviously, you know, there's a couple places in there where they're drinking. You know, whether it's grape juice, wine, or beer, depends on your translation. If you get down to the Strong's Concordance and you find in there this thing called the feast dates, and you break that down or whatever, and one of the places it says, if you got to go from here to there and it's really far, sell your offering and use that to buy provisions to go camping. One of the named provisions is specifically beer. And when I read that, I was like, so you're telling me I should go, if I got to go a long way, if I got to go out of state to meet up with my kinfolk and go camping, I'm honoring the Creator by taking the offering I was going to give to the church, sell that. You know, my goat, my sheep, my ram, you, my kids, you, of course, sheep, kids, of course, goats, whatever. If I sell my livestock, I was trying to be funny there, but it got weird fast. So if I sell my livestock, I go yonder, I meet up with my family at the creek, and we're staying in a tent, and we drink like, some beer and have a good time, like, there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're drinking so much beer that you're getting DUIs and you cannot pay your electric bill, well, yeah, that's sin. I mean, like, dude, some of this stuff is just so make it make sense and ain't even funny. Anyway, I mean, get real. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're making decisions on how you're going to conduct yourself before the creator of the universe, the one that's going to decide if you go to heaven or hell. You know what I mean? So, I mean, just keep it real. I mean, now, and then let me top this off with saying, God already knows everything about you and every decision you're going to make for your entire life before you were born. Don't try to lie to him. Don't try to run away from him. You're in a situation. God, I'm in a situation. Help, please. You know what I mean? You know how wise that is? Do you know how many people, when you read the Bible, do you know how many people would, I mean, there's entire civilizations that would be alive today if they got into some type of situation and they said, I'm sorry, please help. And then whatever the Bible said to do to make it right, if they had done that, it's God's will that none shall perish, y'all. Okay, so like, I want to develop a way to be prayer constantly without ceasing. I want to take every thought captive and decide to act appropriately in every moment. You know, there are people that say, oh, well, everybody sins. Yeah. Okay, yeah. From the time I was born to the time I died, I definitely committed a sin. Sure. Okay, cool. I definitely sinned thousands of times, whatever. Okay, but like, if I repent right now, how long can I go without sinning? 10 minutes? 10 hours? 3 days? A week? I mean, like, where's the cutoff on this deal? Like, one day? Are you telling me you can't go without sin for 15 minutes? You hear what I'm saying? Like, where are you at with this thing? Do you have a clear definition of what sin is? You know, sin is operating in lawlessness. So, like, what's the law? Are you operating within the confines of the law? You know what I mean? Like, what are the confines of the law? Treat your neighbor like a loved one? Yeah. I mean, don't rape, don't murder. Yeah, I mean, dude, it's not like God Himself. Let me shine some light right here, right now. Whoever's watching this, God Himself, after giving the law, said, and I quote, "Surely this is not too hard," because He made it that easy. Jesus' mom and dad were righteous. John the Baptist's mom and dad were righteous. According to the Bible, they were in right standing with God. Surely these things are not too hard. You can do it. You can do it! Like, you really can. You really can. And then, like, if you think you can't, you can ask God, hey, is this cool or not? And then just, like, do whatever He says. How do I know what He says, Skip? Well, read the book. The manufacturer's specifications. You were created. You were knit together in your mother's womb. He wrote this book. He said, do this, don't do that. And then He gave ample description of people that made various choices, some good, some bad, and showed the results of said choices. Some death, some life. Then He made another recommendation: choose life. You know what I'm saying? Like, There's a reason why little kids understand this. And then, like, let me get real with you. Here's the deal. When somebody brings up your particular flavor of sin, you get defensive instead of being honest. That's all it is. That's being defensive instead of fixing your bullshit is the Achilles heel of the human race. Let me say that again. The Achilles heel, the downfall of the human race is when we choose to get defensive instead of owning up to our bullshit and fixing it. When somebody comes up and tells me XYZ about ABC, then I should look into that and act appropriately. To do anything else would be acting inappropriately. Now, what comes to your head when I say you're acting inappropriately right now? By being defensive. We're talking about, taxes. You know what I mean? You're splitting the hairs. Well, this and that, blah, blah, whatever. Is it legal or not? Yes. Is it legal or not? No. Let your yes be yes and let your no be no, and quit being defensive about the stuff that's, if you find yourself splitting hairs, trying to justify what you're doing, there's a parable for that. I wish you were hot or cold, but because you're lukewarm, I will vomit you out of my mouth. I believe that's in chapter 2 of Revelation, when he's talking to the churches. Let him who have an ear hear what the Spirit says to the churches. To him who overcomes, I will give him a new name on a white stone. And you definitely need to do the word study on name. What is the Bible saying when it says the word name? What is that? Seek that out. Okay. Most high in all downs. Okay, now is God, are you placed him at the top? Okay, so my body's the temple. I put God on the throne of my mind, but also on the throne of my heart, and also on the throne of my gut, and also on the throne of my legs, what I'm standing on. Also the throne of my fingers, what am I feeling? My dad's got this joke. He goes to the doctor and says, well, how do you feel? He says, with my fingers. So how do you feel about this thing? I want my mind, will, and emotions lined up with God's mind, will, and emotions. I want to be in full agreement with him and presented with something that is askew from his purity. I want to reject the impure and embrace the pure. And if everybody around me is mad about that, I want to explain to them, I want to have a ready statement of, hey, I see where you're coming from, because it ain't just fuck your feelings. That's not loving and kind. I don't want to be like, oh, well, we don't agree, so, fuck you and the horse you rode in on. That's harsh as hell. People need the truth in love, according to the Bible. So, I need to discipline myself and be like, okay, here's the truth. This is why I think that. The Bible says XYZ about ABC. So I want to agree with that because that makes sense to me. So on this subject, I agree with the Bible, and to the best of my knowledge, this is what it says about it. So that's why I'm saying this the way I'm saying it. And I want you to understand that because I care how you feel about this topic. I want you to understand that your feelings matter to me. I want you to understand that, God does not want you to be separate from Him. The devil came and separated mankind from God. God used to walk with Adam in the cool of the evening in the Garden of Eden. He wants to hang out with people. But our sin separated us, and, I want to come back into agreement so that I'm not separate, because I want to hang out with God. You know what I mean? And not just now, but like forever, because that sounds awesome. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to let a slice of bacon come in between me and God. I don't think a good slice of bacon's actually going to throw me in hell or anything, but I'm going to err on the cautious and safe side out of respect and admiration. I want to take it to the next level. You know what I mean? You're at work trying to climb the corporate ladder to get money and status and stuff. Well, I want to get rid of bacon to acquire a closer relationship with God. I don't think it's salvational. Am I going to make it? Am I not going to make it? You know what I mean? But I definitely want to be like, keep the law, because it comes right out and says, depart from me, I never knew you, workers of lawlessness. So I want to be a worker that is lawful. I want to be full of the law. I think the law is God's opinion on how to act appropriate in His house. What's His house? The earth. He created everything. He created the cosmos and all these other big words that people say. If you name anything, steak, who made that? Mom and Daddy cow made little cow. Here's the steak. Whatever. I cooked it on propane, blah, 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 whatever. Go back. Well, where did that come from? Well, where did that come from? Well, where did that come from? Over and over and over, all roads lead to Creator. Obviously. Because, here's a parable for you. Computers have software. Somebody wrote the code. It did not just rain one time, because it's been raining for 52 million years, that one day a computer fell out of the sky. That's the stupidest shit I ever heard in my life. That's absolutely ridiculous. You know what I mean? Evolution is, it's stupid. Even when we see adaptation and mutations and all this other kind of stuff, if you actually look at whatever it is, it's losing. It's degrading. It's not improving. It's not getting better. It's adapting to the circumstances around it and literally degrading in genetic code. That's a fact. That's why, like inbreeding, you know what I mean? If you inbreed your animals, like thoroughbred horses, a lot of thoroughbred horses will break a leg over next to nothing because they're inbred. Anyway, so you have a free will. You have a free will, and you can choose life. From right now until the day that you're on from right now until Judgment Day, you yourself have the ability to choose whether or not you're going to read the Bible and align with it. You do not have to. It is your choice. If you don't want to receive it, you don't have to. But I pray that God draws you to it. I think it's worthwhile. I'm going to say this. If my mortgage was based on who's winning the Super Bowl in 2026, you better believe I'm going to watch the entire NFL season leading up to the Super Bowl to make an informed decision. So that's all I'm going to say about it. Read the Bible for yourself so you can make an informed decision. And I'm going to tell you this too. Read every book about every religion and come back to the Bible, and you'll find the Bible's the one that's actually true. And, without getting into all that, I'm going to get off here. I'm making this too long. Rock Hill, and, just get out there and read. And Have discussions. It's pretty awesome. Hang out with God. Ask God to show you. Raquel.